agendas for national development. This roundtable is expected to be more than just an exchange of ideas. It is going to create a space for innovation, for problem solving, and for shaping the future in the ways that matter. The topics that will be explored today are crucial, and the perspective each of the discussants brings will add depth and insight into our conversation. This event is also one in a series of programs to fulfill the IPTOS mandate and realize the Vice Chancellor's vision that academic interventions should no longer done with the silo mentality, but should be inclusive and be capable of transformative impacts in the society. Today, we have provided a platform to aggregate views from the academic community, the government, the industry, as well as policymakers in the intellectual property and innovation industry. This triple helix approach has always been the standard practice in the Ghanaian University, and I am happy that today's intervention in national discourse extends the tradition. I am grateful to the Vice Chancellor for his vision and
we have enough Thank you very much for that breaking time transmission. Quickly now, shut the door. Let nobody enter again, please. Thank you very much. Quickly now, I'd like to welcome to the microphone for his remarks the Vice Chancellor, Professor Lawrence Ikechukwu Ezemonye. Please applaud him.
All of you still sitting down, intellectual property. I want to show the difference between your lecturer and myself. My own ovation is standing. Oh, yeah, do it again. Please be seated. Please be seated. I've always told my colleagues, if you want to enjoy the applause of the lecturers from law, make your students participants. So we are very, very proud of the College of Law. I'm saying this with all seriousness and intent. There are virtually no academic program that holds in this conference center in the library complex that we don't have a large number of law students participating and participating actively. I would like to use this opportunity to welcome our law students that represented us at the ECOWAS debate. I welcome you. You also recall that some weeks back, they were also in Port Harcourt for bootcamp. So the university appreciates your academic disposition and willingness to transform the nation with your knowledge. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our respected panelists that have come for a while, principal officers of this university, provost and director that are here, and our students. IUO. This one is a special one for law students. Law students, IUO. Other students that are jealous, I apologize. It's one family anyway. I would like to formally welcome everybody to this very important program. It is not in doubt anymore, locally, continentally, or globally, that innovation and creativity are essential drivers of national development, shaping economies, industries, and the society at large. Intellectual property, therefore, exists to recognize and protect entrepreneurs and innovators, of course, by clothing them with the rights over their inventions. The precise role of intellectual property in fostering national development is the center of today's discourse, and I can assure you that with the caliber of the panelists that we have today, we should be able to make some recommendations for national development. It's on this note, I formally welcome all of us to this roundtable that is organized by the Millennium University Intellectual Property and Technology Transfer Office, IPTTO. I welcome the lead speakers, the DG of NOTAP, who's here ably represented, our dear Dr. Henry Emeju, the Director General CEO of Pan-African Alliance. We welcome you. Our representative of Barrister Mrs. Jane Igwe, Patent and Design of the Federal Ministry of Industry. Incidentally, the rep here, I was just asking Barrister that is this her first time in university? She said no, the second time. Incidentally, her daughter is here, fourth-year medical student. We have our dear Professor Nato Fo, and also an erudite engineer and entrepreneur who we have also invited. They will be duly introduced, but I'll crave your indulgence to listen to them speak. I will also crave your indulgence to be attentive to the discussions of the panelists, particularly for law students who are given the responsibility to protect the rights and privileges of individuals through knowledge of law. Today's event, I must say, is one of our several avenues of engaging the public and the academia. And I'm very confident that the discussion today, the role of intellectual property in shaping Nigeria's development goals, will also add to the developmental pursuit of our university. At the heart of intellectual property is incentivization of inventors, artists, entrepreneurs. And this is to make them create new products and services. Moreover, intellectual property is known to boost economic activities, attracting local and foreign investors, supporting startups, and enhancing Nigeria's ability to compete in the global markets. More significantly, intellectual property supports technological advancement through patents and trademarks, which encourage research and development. And here is at the heart of the responsibility of a university and our university. Research and development that leaves the shelf and enters the local, national, and global markets through patenting and commercialization. There's no doubt that Nigeria has a very notable, vibrant entrepreneurial spirit. And our creative industries have been doing wonderfully well. What demands our care at this point is to provide policies, regulations that support translation and transformation research in Nigeria. Meanwhile, here in Minedo University, you ask me, what are we doing in this wise? Minedo University continues to set the pace in academic excellence by introducing set skills that provides opportunity for reskilling and retooling through our digital hubs. We have also introduced master classes. Incidentally, this particular program is a master class. I'm sure some aspects of this program is entrenched or mainstreamed or is embedded in one of your courses in the College of Law, or even in our business college. The aim is to not only to emphasize skill content of our curriculum, but it's more importantly to produce future-ready graduates. The mantra of this university is to continually produce future-ready graduates. Additionally, every postgraduate program in this university has an academia, industry, or government supervisor, which is an innovation by this university, which most other universities are now emulating. Let me put us on notice and also inform us that in the last few weeks, the universities has continued to win laurels in academic sphere. Just recently, the Society of Petroleum Engineers IUO Students Chapter was honored with 2 prestigious awards. The first one is the SPE Regional Outstanding Student Chapter Award for Africa. And the second one is the SPE Presidential Award for Outstanding Student Chapter in Community Involvement. Our university chapter is recognized among the top 10 SPE chapters globally. And it will interest you to know that IUO team will represent Nigeria at the 2025 SPE Annual Technical Conference in Houston, Texas this year. Just like the law students, the engineering students have continued to impress in their academic excellence. In the same vein, Christian Samuel Oburu of SPE IUO Student Chapter emerged the first place winner in the 2025 Dr. Olumide Phillips Scholarship Examination. This scholarship is named in honor of Dr. Olumide Phillips, a renowned petroleum engineer and industry leader. It is highly competitive, but Christian Samuel Oburu emerged the #1 in the entire competition. Moving to medicine, Miss Sarah Fatukasi, a 500-level medical student, was selected as a student ambassador for the 2025 World Transport Congress, which will be holding in United States this year. This opportunity allows her to contribute to global conversation on organ transportation, a testament that our medical school is doing well in medical excellence. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me formally welcome you again to this roundtable. I crave your indulgence to listen attentively, take notes, and make your notes on what the panelists will be talking today. It is my belief and firm understanding that the resolutions of today will go a long way in providing the required panacea for national development through intellectual property. Thank you very much.
I believe you should keep clapping. Thank you so much. You may now take your seat. At this point, I would like to hand over to the moderator, Professor Charity Emaviwe, to oversee the proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you, Piero, and thank you, Chairman, who has just spoken to us. By the way, just let you know that intellectual property is not rocket science. It represents creation of your mind. That's to do with things like copyrights, patent, trade secrets, trademarks, and then answers the question, what can the law do to assist you in protecting these kind of rights? So like the chairman said, we implore you to listen to all the discussants attentively. You will have one of two things to take home. Now, each of the discussants will have 15 minutes to talk. And it is my pleasure to introduce the representative of NOTA, the representative of the Director General of NOTA, in the person of Engineer Enoch Mohalu. Now, Engineer Enoch Mohalu is a notable figure, is a distinguished Nigerian from the Southeast geopolitical zone. Specifically, he is a deputy director in the Technology Acquisition and Research Coordination Department of NOTA. He has been involved in initiatives to promote intellectual property, culture, and technology development in Nigeria. For Engineer Mohalu, it is a homecoming because he has been here before. Now, through NOTA, Engineer Mohalu has contributed to many events and efforts at encouraging IP development, patenting, and technology transfer in Nigerian tertiary institutions. He works closely with universities and research institutions to foster a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship, helping researchers to commercialize their findings. Chairman, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I welcome Engineer Mohalu to speak to us for 15 minutes, please.
BC, I do once more, and I wish to stand on the existing protocol. The paper you are seeing is the paper of my DG, Dr. Barrister Lady Obiageli Amadiobi, who, due to an exigency, has asked me to stand in for her. The role of intellectual property in supporting Nigerians' developmental goals. That's the table of contents. But for want of time, I will go into introduction. Intellectual property plays a vital role in supporting Nigeria's development goals by stimulating innovation, attracting investment, and fostering economic growth. By providing legal practices, protection for creations and innovations. IP incentivizes research and development, encouraging the creation of new industries, and enables business to generate revenue and build competitive advantage, thereby ensures sustainable development. IP cannot be overemphasized. The role it plays in development of the nation's goals, developmental goals. Those are points, one of the ways, and some of the ways it encourages SMEs. Note I've described this a long time ago. For patent documents, we use to package booklets for SMEs to domesticate, for transfer of technology, so they can be productive. They can have new ideas and where things are being done. IP supports creativity. The knowledge that has to do in IP database system, in patenting, that knowledge there. There are some patents that are already called expired patent in public domain, or which as a researcher, If you have access, instead of inventing the wheel, you make progress. You invent new things. And when there are spin-offs, it creates jobs and opportunities. It equally boosts financial economic growth in the country. Through patent licensing, various licensing types, where trademark, it creates wealth. It boosts research and development. There's IP like WIPO websites everywhere. The releases patents protected per year, per month, so that you're able to know the recent trend in that work you are doing. To avoid wasting resources, to avoid reinventing the wheel, to avoid doing what is called market-driven research, industrial-driven research, translational research, to avoid what you call basic research. We need what industry needs. In agriculture, IP is very strong. Because with IP, new varieties, new products, plant varieties are recorded. These days, there are certain seeds you cannot get free. You pay heavily for them to take charge of the IP involved. In healthcare, IP plays a very important role in healthcare. It comes with the new devices, new medicines, new medical activities. In the area of healthcare, IP is very strong. Notable understood that this program has to do with equal activities in the university. In that area, what are those things that require the university to be done in order to support development goal in this country? First of all, within the university system, the way I'm saying is like Ibunedo is in the right track, because it's university that will sensitize the faculties, the staff and students, what IP is all about, create awareness, and then develop policies. Because without policies, there won't be a reward system. The reward system will be bad, it will be faulty. And where the reward system is faulty, R&D generation will be poor. Therefore, to establish IPTO is already in this Ibunedo. But the point is that, is it working well? Is it yielding results? Is there any ways not functioning right? These are areas we are going to look into. If it's okay, then let me take in as much as IP supports development, Nigerian development goals, but there are challenges. There are challenges there. First of all, we talk of weak enforcement of laws. We discovered that as far as this country is concerned, when it comes to enforcement of IP infringement, there's no strong policy available for that. We had issues, cases that people brought up, they have stolen their products. How do we force it? How do we enforce it? Especially when it's taken by a multinational company, these big companies. They keep on postponing the case. You as an individual will run out of cash. You'll be frustrated. You will withdraw from the case. Not once, not twice. Inadequate awareness. Inadequate awareness is equally an issue. The NOTAP is taking care of it. By creating regionally, each time they establish IPTO, they create awareness, they train the people on how to go about it. Creating awareness in regional circle, in zones, is very, very important, especially among the stakeholders, among the universities. Lecturers should know, professors should know, everybody should be aware for it to yield positive results. Concerning the patenting or protection, a lot of people have the company that say, we went to patent office, the cost is quite exorbitant. We say no, it's not all that exorbitant. It's because of the agents. Meet an agent, you start calling 200, 250. We say no. Come to NOTAP. We pay the charge. We pay the processing fee. We get the patent for you, and then you come and collect it with presidential and ministerial handshake. If there's corruption within the system, where there's corruption within the system, things will not go right. In case of violation, people will try to mismanage priorities, and things are not done right. All these constraints will automatically stifle innovation, hinders foreign transfer of technology, dissemination of information, and then reduces investment. You cannot be talking of foreign direct investment when the person is not sure that his investment is protected, his IP is protected. We want to talk of lack of revenue. In this area of piracy, counterfeiting, copying, somebody will labor will work. Another person will benefit without saying thank you. Finally, it creates damage to our national image. Let me take, in a nutshell, NOTAP as a case study here. NOTAP has tried to put into places the way these things is going to be handled. By first of all, promoting and processing indigenous inventions. As I said, NOTAP, we prepare, package it, and then pay for you, correct it. Equally, NOTAP has succeeded in creating at least 68 IPPTOs to make sure that IPR gets to the root. And our research outcome is of high quality. NOTAP equally encourages collaboration between universities and industries, because industry and university linkage. Equally, NOTAP, in order to make sure that our universities function well, partner and collaborate with multinational countries in this country to upgrade laboratories in the country in zones. I'm sure that of Jos, that of Calabar. And then seeing that our people are losing trend, there's what we call NOTAP Industrial Technology Transfer Fellowship, whereby a professor, a person doing his master's or PhD applies, gains this scholarship, but then the project will be what the company wants. The company wants to try this as a veterinary, so that you foster, you master, you disseminate knowledge and transfer knowledge among the students. It's always running. As he said, another way what NOTAP is doing is to make sure that commercialization takes place in all sectors. It doesn't matter the area. And I want to state equally that patent office is equally doing well. I'm trying to round up. If you look at the chart there, you saw how the IPT have been distributed. And I said, out of 339 patents granted so far from 2010 to 2014, almost 40% of them were already in the market. That is the way things are being done. Finally, I also state that IPR role in supporting Nigeria's development goals cannot be overemphasized because it is a very crucial for Nigerians' development as it helps to protect and leverage the nation's industrial capital to drive economic growth, technological advancement, and ultimately a stronger, more innovative economy. To achieve the desired, it is pertinent that the challenges are addressed very well through fostering collaboration between government agencies, business, research institutions, and international organizations to promote IP protection and industrialization by reviewing and updating the existing IP laws to align with international best practices. To ensure effective enforcement mechanism. It is only then that Nigeria can harness the full power of intellectual property to achieve the national goals, foster innovation, and drive sustainable economic growth. Thank you for listening.
Another round of applause for the speaker. You have heard from the DG Notab through the mouth of Engineer Mohalu. And he has spoken to us about the functions of Notab, what is Notab, what is intellectual property, and what it stands for in Nigeria. And he also talked about the challenges that Notab has faced. Luckily for us, this lecture is online, and we believe that we always will be able to get copies of it. Once again, let us give a round of applause to the speaker. Chairman, sir, I want to Henry Emejo. Dr. Henry Emejo is a detribalized Nigerian medical professional and an entrepreneur par excellence. He holds degrees, a number of degrees in biomedical laboratory science, medicine, and public health. He is the group CEO of Fomes Healthcare Africa, a company he founded and that has expanded into areas like health education, diagnostics, pharmaceuticals, wellness, and even real estate. He is a globally recognized clinician scientist and a business strategist whose work spans healthcare, innovation, industrial development, and intellectual policy advocacy. Dr. Mejo is also the Director General, CEO of the Pan-African Alliance of Small and Medium Industries and President of the Global South Industrialization Alliance. He has championed initiatives that bridge innovation with sustainable economic growth across Africa and the Global South. His leadership in projects such as the USAID-funded AWED and the Gains/NASA Nutrition Impact at Scale program has empowered thousands of MSMEs, many of which rely on intellectual property to scale and protect their innovations. He's a prolific writer, published author, and peer review editor, who brings a unique perspective to the intersection of public health, entrepreneurship, and IP policy. His participation today is expected to foster dialogue on the role of intellectual property in driving inclusive development and industrial transformation. Chairman, sir, permit me to request Dr. Henry Emejo to make his presentation in 15 minutes while standing on his seat.
The chairman of the occasion, the vice chancellor, the principal officers of the university, and then the student. The student, how do you say it? IUO. IUO. Can you say one more to yourself? IUO. IUO. That's okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think I'm happy to be here this afternoon. I'm very, very delighted. You know, the issue here is that I'm part of you. I did my medical school at Ambrose University. You can see. So it is indeed a homecoming after a long while. I will run very quickly. Today, you see, the chairman, as we look at the role of intellectual property in supporting Nigeria development goals, it's a very important discourse. And then we are here to lay our voice to it. And then we start very simple. Just the next slide, please. We start the significance of intellectual property in supporting Nigerian development. Those are the key elements I want us to see. The intellectual property, as you know, as a law student, that such as patent, copyright, trademarks provide incentives for individuals and business to innovate and create. And then it's an asset, very important. It's an asset that we must see as an as IP is an asset. It's what that can earn you money. Please, next slide. And then when you look at it, the significance of IP in extending beyond national boundaries and then especially the contents of African integration. Let me tell us, as it is today, IP is one major thing that helps us to unite. African market have become one by what the process they call African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. On this agreement, do you know what happened? Please, your attention. Do you know what happened in the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement? Is that 1.3 billion people have become one market. And it's about 3.4 trillion GDP. It's a big market. So it's important that we move ahead on that direction. Please, let's move ahead. Next slide. Next slide. It's good that we understand what IP or intellectual property is all about. When we look at the definition by World Intellectual Property Organization, they simply put, it's a creation of mind, such as invention, literary, artistic works, designs and symbols, names and images used in commerce. Very simple definition. But when you look at it in real sense, it can be categorized into sectors. If you can say industrial property, patent, trademarks, industrial designs, even geographical indicators. And then the other aspect of it you can see is copyrights. When you look at copyright and the related activities around about, it's a key. But you have to look at this scenario. Intellectual property is targeted by most countries. Even as the fifth industrial revolution is here, the AI is here. When you look at it from first industrial revolution, from the second, from the third, from the fourth, patent, intellectual property have played a key role. Because when you remember, before even the aircraft began to take, some people have sit down and researched. And then we move from the initial industrialization and then to where we are today. Intellectual property remain a critical driver of that process. Can we go to the next slide? And then it's also for you to see, just for us to point at you what happens. IP is a kind of protection to prosperity. It's a protection to prosperity. When you patent your products, when you trademark your product, what happens that you become competitive, you have a competitive advantage, you have a brand value and trust, you can attract investment, and then you can also have new revenues. These are what we're looking at. Please, next slide. And then let us just look at a few challenges and then and solutions as they were. Just like the deputy director rightly said, we have weak enforcement, and then we said that the key solution to this weak enforcement to have a specialized IP courts and capacity building. Very important. And then another one that is important is weak awareness. But look at what we're here today, creating awareness for what? For IP, intellectual properties. That's what we're here for. And then we now say that the one way to create that awareness is what we're doing. And then we call it nationwide campaign. And then the last one you need to see is another challenge that is also there is outdated laws. You are a law student, you can understand and resonate with this. Outdated laws. Can I tell you for free? Nigeria today, there's no legislation or bill for commercialization for universities to be able to commercialize their R&D. The only law we have was for MBTI, National Incubation Agency of Federal Ministry of Science and Technology. They are the only one that have a law that will help them to commercialize. And they are just an incubation agency. Imagine that this university have a research outcome. There is no framework, have this patented IPs, and then that can be commercialized when they have trademarked, and then it becomes very difficult. And that's why, as an organization, we look at a bill to promote commercialization, research development, innovation, and then that will help the country to midwife the process of using intellectual properties to drive industrialization. We have to be intentional about it, and that's why when this call come up, we say we have to be here to discuss and look at it. Please move ahead. And then a quick recommendation. There is, just like the director of the unit have said, there is a need for the triple helix, the relationship between the government. The government have to see that the law that will allow commercialization to happen in the country, because they say you have to put your money, your money where your mouth is. So the government have to invest where that is important for them. So there's a very important thing that government have to look at it and see how we can drive that process. And then that process has begun to have a law that will help commercialization in the country. Because if we can't commercialize, we can't industrialize. Let me tell you, when we're having a brief with your Vice Chancellor this morning, he said that you people in the world, in the transformative realm, that was his word. Do you know transformative realm? It's a realm of production. And then if you're in the realm of production and then you don't have a framework that will allow production that will allow the patented IPs to be commercialized. Not just having a kind of a demonstration plant, but where we can have tangible products. And then I will love what he's doing, because in the university, bringing both industry and academia to allow postgraduate students to structure their programs. I was in Malaysia. They found out that in the university, they have about 7 industries within that university. So these are what we need to look at. And then the other one is private sector approach. Everybody has to be inclusive. The last one there, please. The last recommendation. And then academia and civil society. The university is doing what they're supposed to do in triple helix. And that's why they have invited all of us here today to let our voice. And then please go ahead. And then just for you, a big understanding of what PASME is all about. PASME is a Pan-African Alliance for small and medium industry that is an African Union activity that drives industrialization through small and medium industries. Just next slide, please. And then this is our area of our work. The key element of our work is enterprise development. When you look at down there, you see commercialization activities is a key element. And then advocacy is another pillar that is important for us. Please, can you move ahead? And then it is what it is, but I want to use this opportunity to also inform the Vice Chancellor what we do. PASME will have a key programs. They are what we call African Union Community Activation Program, AUCAP. In the AUCAP, what we do is that in the communities, we take a community. In that community, we take 500 people. Like, for instance, this university can create a community for us. And then we train the capacity of those communities to be able to have entrepreneurship skills, have value addition skills, to be able to build business that can support their communities. It's already happening in Rwanda, and then we have taken a community somewhere in Kurudu in Abuja. And then these are the things we may have to discuss further with the Vice Chancellor, see how we can create AU Agenda 2063 a community activation program. And another thing that I also want to point at you is that we are having what we call African Cassava Conference, which will also extend our invitation to the university, and then to make sure that all of us will move ahead. And then as I round up, I will say this is the element, but there is one that Vice Chancellor said that is important. I will tell you that this is a master class. In August, we'll be having a master class on program design, development, and management. On that program, we will give a slot to this university as a scholarship, because we have realized that there is a paucity of fund. So how you design your program, how you implement your program become very imperative. And this program is coordinated with us and then University of Delaware in the United States. I think in that note, I will end my conversation. Thank you very much for this perspective.
Thank you very much, Dr. Emejo. You have listened to him. He has talked about the different types of IP, how you can create them, the challenges that are faced by the producers, and the solutions. Please, the copies of his lectures will also be available. Once again, we thank you, Doctor, and we'll give him another round of applause. Chairman, sir, I wish to introduce Engineer Chukwudi Mudiaga Akpoto. These Ambrosali people are too much. Please pardon me for that mishap. I'd like to call on the representative of the Registrar of Patents, my learned sister, in the person of Enobong Hussein. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, everyone. So I will just basically discuss about intellectual property from a perspective of a lawyer, just like most of us are. A lot has been said about intellectual property. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, a lot has been said about intellectual property. And it's often said that intellectual property is closer to you and I than we could ever imagine. It is said that averagely in a day, we interact with over millions of intellectual property rights elements, whether it is in your sleep, physically, or even in your dreams. Like we see, these are some of intellectual property rights elements, and I'm sure most of us are either holding, or most of us have had to maybe drink water today, or some of us have this water in front of us, right? Okay, so you can see how close intellectual property is to us. Next slide. And like the other speaker has said, intellectual property is the creation of the mind, and it refers to things like invention, literary, artistic work, symbols, names, images used in commerce. Next slide. Next slide. Could we just move further a bit? Okay. So when intellectual property has moral and economic value, we see inventors coming ahead to protect it. And when they protect it, it's intellectual property laws that usually apply, and they are said to have intellectual property rights. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, intellectual property rights is a bundle of rights. We can see these are some of intellectual property rights. They could actually be more. But in Nigeria, next slide, we majorly focus on 2 intellectual property rights. Please, can you move ahead? I'm just going to rush through because we don't have time. We have copyright and we have industrial property rights. Can you go back? We have copyright and we have industrial property rights. So when you have them together, it's known as intellectual property rights. But when you remove one, you can either have either copyright or industrial property rights. Please move ahead. So you can see today we'll just focus on industrial property rights. Industrial property rights majorly has trademarks, patents, and industrial designs. And these rights is administered by the Commercial Law Department, which is under the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade, and Investment. Go ahead. So I'll just go straight and talk about trademarks. Okay, I'll just talk about trademarks. Trademarks is a bundle of rights. It's actually a right that protects trade and symbols in trade and commerce. It's a graphical representation that distinguishes the goods and services of one business from the other. It also strives to identify the sources of goods and services. In Nigeria, we protect just names and logos, but abroad, we have even signatures, sounds, jingles, and even the feel of objects being protected as trademarks. So, okay. Trademarks broadly have two categories. We have the trademarks in the strict sense of it. We also have the service mark. The trademark is usually used to append on goods, while service marks are used on services. So if you are providing a service, you use a service mark. These are some of the trademarks that I'm sure most of us are familiar with, and they have also been registered with the Trademarks Office. For categories of trademarks, you could see these are trademarks in the strict sense of it. It's appended on goods, while the other one is service mark. You append it on services. For instance, Limi Hospital is a hospital, so it's providing services. So you would go for a service mark and not a trademark in the strict sense of it. We also have certification marks. Certification marks are marks that are used on goods and services to show that those marks have actually attained a certain form of standard. For instance, we have SON, it's a certification mark. We also have collective marks, which are used for goods and services, but they are used by members of a certain organization to show that those goods and services come from their organization. Go ahead. For criteria of registration, the basic criteria for registration of trademarks. If you have a trademark and you come to the trademark registry to register it, you need to fulfill certain criteria. Number one, your mark must be distinctive and not descriptive. So for instance, your mark must not bear resemblance to the character of the goods and services that it protects. That is why you can have an Apple logo for a computer-related services or company, but you cannot bring an Apple logo to register for maybe a food business. We would turn it down and would say that it is not distinctive, but descriptive. Same way, if you have like a spoon, you can use it for a drug or any other thing, but you cannot use it for a kitchen utensil because we would say that is descriptive and not distinctive. Your mark must not also be confusingly similar to an existing mark or likely to cause confusion in the market. For instance, Milo had already been registered and somebody came to register Milo with W. The person was turned down. Seaway was already registered and somebody came to register Seaway with double E. It was turned down for being deceptive. Then I would like us to just look at this logo. You see, it looks like as if it's almost the same. They were actually brought for registration. The first one was registered and the second person came to register this and it was not allowed. Same goes to this other logo. I'm sure you know which company has that combination. Pepsi, okay? Someone came to register the first one, but the second one was already registered and it was turned down. Your mark also must not show superiority in the market. For instance, you cannot register Super Sunny. You will be asked to remove the word super. You cannot register Great Cola or Fortified Zella. Next slide. Your mark also must not be a geographical location. For instance, someone came to register Delhi soap. I'm sure you know where Delhi is. Okay, it was termed to be a deceptive mark. And someone also came to register Ghana Flex and it was turned down. Your mark must also not be against public policy and morality. Someone came to register Igbo Takeover and the mark is still pending in the office. It was actually turned down because it's against public policy and morality. Next slide. Next slide. Please go back. Can you just, okay. So for lifespan of trademark, once you register your trademark, it lasts for 7 years. And after then, you need to come for renewal. And the renewal is every 14 years. Trademark is known as an unlimited life IP because it tends to last forever, provided you register it. However, you can also lose your trademark rights if you do not register it. You can also lose your trademark rights if you do not renew it, or if you don't protect it against infringement. Maybe other people are infringing upon your trademark and you just keep quiet and allow them. Your trademark can also become generic. We have a lot of marks in the market that have become generic. Did you know that escalator was a popular mark before? But everyone talks about escalator. What should it be? What should it be? Lift. Somebody said lift. Okay. Do you know that Biro was also a popular mark in Nigeria many years ago? But now it's generic. Everybody uses it. Nobody really can lay claim to it. Kerosene. Do you know that kerosene was a popular mark many years ago? But now, what should it be instead of kerosene? What should it be? Gasoline oil. What of sellotape? Do you know that sellotape was a popular mark? What should it be? What should it be?
Masking tape.
Okay, what should it be? Adhesive tape. Okay? Pampers. The average mother goes to the market looking for Pampers. What should it be? Good. So this is how trademark becomes generic if you don't take steps to protect it. Everyone will just be using the name, and before you know it, it loses value. Next slide. So for that reason, you see companies take steps to protect their mark. How do they do that? Over time, you see they keep changing their logo so that it will register in the mind of their users. You may think they are trying to be, innovative. No, they are trying to register it in your mind. So you see Shell, 1909, this is what their logo looked like. And you can see over the years, they keep changing the logo so that it can register in the mind of users. Next slide. So for that reason, a company like Nescafe will always remind you that it is Nescafe. No matter the container and the product, they will always boldly write it there, Nescafe, so that the mark does not become generic. Next slide. Next slide. So if I could quickly run you through trade secrets. Trade secret is a very straightforward registration. Oh, sorry, it's a straightforward intellectual property. Incidentally, it is one intellectual property right that you don't need to register, because once you register it, it doesn't become a secret. As long as you can keep it a secret, then you have it. But when once it's being known to the public or known to certain consumers or certain of your employees who sells you out, then it does not become a trade secret again. It becomes known to the public, and there has to be evidence to show that you have taken reasonable steps to keep it secret. How many of you know of any trade secret from any company or with any company? How many of us? I thought you'd say Coca-Cola. But do you know that many years ago, there was somebody that called Pepsi from Coca-Cola trying to sell the secret out? Do we know that? And Pepsi did something remarkable. Pepsi now contacted the owner of Coca-Cola and told them about it, and the person was jailed. Do we know about that? Maybe you can read it up so that you learn more. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Yes, next slide. So let's just rush through patents. So for patents, patent is a government right that is given to an inventor, to somebody that has created something new, something that has never been in existence. However, next slide, it can also be given to someone that has made an improvement, but the improvement has to be to such a degree that when you look at the original and you look at the improvement, you have no reason not to call it new. Next slide. Let's look at how this can happen. Next slide. For instance, many years ago, we had analog phones. We didn't have any smartphone in existence. But have you seen the degree of improvements? Would you call this an invention? But do you know that this is building on an existing invention? But you see what this can do, the other one cannot do it. Next slide. Many years ago, we had this as the only television. In fact, in those days, it used to be every 4 o'clock that this comes up. If you don't have, okay, for those of us that are Gen Z generation, if your father did not have this, you wait, once it's 4 o'clock, you go to your neighbor's window and go and look at, you just be peeping. But you see now, I'm sure every household has this. But can you call this an invention? But it's an improvement on this. So that's how the degree of improvement has to be. The degree of improvement has to be to such an extent that when you look at the invention and then you look at the old invention, you would have no reason but to call it an invention. Next slide. How many minutes do I have? 2 minutes. So once a patent is issued, a patent certificate goes along with it. And one thing I'd like you to know is that patent certificate is, I think, one of the few rights in law that when once the certificate is issued, there's always a ribbon attached to it. So please, when you go into practice and you are prosecuting a patent for your clients, ensure that the ribbon is attached to it. The ribbon attaches the gist of the inventions to the patent so that it serves as a notice to the public of what has actually been granted as a patent. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. So patent duration is for 20 years. However, it is subject to renewal. Please go back. It's subject to renewal. After 20 years, it lapses and falls into the public domain. Let me just run through some of the features of patent rights. First, patent is federal rights. Federal rights means that when there is a case, the High Court is the court of first instance. So if your client approaches you with a patent infringement case, please don't go to a magistrate court because it is granted by the federal government. It's a federal right, and Federal High Court is the court of first instance. Secondly, patent is territorial rights. You cannot have a patent in Nigeria and go to stop somebody in Ghana that is practicing the same invention or has an invention similar to you. Do you know why? Because every country has their own laws. What can be accepted in Nigeria as a patent may not be accepted in Ghana as a patent. Same also goes to trademarks too. Trademarks are territorial rights. If you register a trademark in Nigeria, you cannot stop someone in Ghana from using the same rights. Also, a trademark that is accepted in Ghana may not be accepted in Nigeria because in Nigeria, that same word that is accepted in Ghana may mean something defamatory to the government. Let's go ahead. I would also like you to note that patents are regarded as negative rights. It's one of the very few rights in law that is regarded as negative rights. Do we know why? Because the right that government gives you is not a right to go into the market and start selling your product. The right is to keep every other person from selling your product. That is why it's regarded as negative rights. For criteria for patentability, let's go. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Oh, please go back to criteria for patentability. For criteria for patentability, first criteria, please next slide. Stop there. Your invention has to be new. New means it has to be novel. It must not have been practiced anywhere in the world. Now, the problem we have is that in Nigerian community or within the Nigerian research space, we see people coming to patent their products several times after it has fallen into the public domain. Many years ago, we had a man that came with his grandchild to come and patent his invention. Now, this is the gist of what he had to present to us. He came with bags of research papers, and he claimed that many years ago he worked with Mobile Nigeria. The man was actually blind, and that he discovered a chemical that could prevent rot from rusting under the sea. But he did not know that he ought to patent it. So he gladly told his employers in Mobile, and they celebrated him, they granted him an award, they took the invention and they have been practicing the invention. This is like maybe 18 years after. So he's coming down to get a patent because he realized that Mobile is making a lot of money out of that chemical. And according to him, as he was working the inventions, some of the chemicals escaped into his eye, and that is how he became blind. So he came with his grandchild 18 years later requesting for a patent right. I want to ask you, if you were the registrar of patents, would you give him that right? Why? Is it that he didn't invent? What? Okay, who are those that say yes? Who are those that say yes? Okay, who are those that say no? Okay, let me start. Who are those that said yes? Students, no one is following. Is no one wants to say yes or no?
Lawyers, it's time for you to speak, not only to. Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Would you have given him the right? You won't give him the right. Okay, who would have given him the right? Okay, why wouldn't you give him the right?
I won't give him the right because in law there's something called statutes of limitations. So
Okay.
the statute barred from coming to get a patent right because time has already elapsed.
Wow, thank you very much. Please a sound clap for her.
Wow.
I would also want to remind us, how many of you have ever seen the Statute of Liberty?
Yes.
What happens to the eye?
Close.
The eye is blind. So he was trying to whip up sentiment. The law is not based on sentiment.
Oh.
The law is there. It has to be new. 18 years after, that invention is no longer new. And as one of the basic principle of intellectual property law, which you must know, you do not take from the public that which is freely enjoyed by the public. 18 years later, Mobile has already been using this invention to solve one or two problems for the public, and it would be unjust for us to grant him that right. And so he wasn't granted the right. But this is the cost of ignorance, because a lot of times in the universities, when you talk to researchers and beg them to come and patent their products, they tell you no, because when they patent their product, that they feel that other people will steal it. But guess what? Without you even knowing without other people even knowing what you have invented, somebody can stay somewhere and still be able to invent what is on your mind. So with this note, I'll just like to stop here, because my time is up.
It was quite interesting. I just told them that so let us have the fantastic presentation. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Oh.
Okay. Now, another round of applause for her. Now, I can see all of us, we're ready to go back to research, create all the IPs, and get them registered before it's too late. Another round of applause. Chairman, let me introduce Engineer Chukwudi Mudiaga Kwotowo. Engineer Chukwudi Akwotowo is a graduate of Ambusali University, Ekoma, where he obtained a Bachelor of Engineering degree in 2007. In 2024, he again obtained a master's degree in engineering management from University of Benin, Edo State. This special engineer has enjoyed fellowships from the Nigerian Society of Engineers and the Nigerian Institute of Mechanical Engineers. He is the patron of Edo State Traffic Control and Management Agency, ETSMA, and an ambassador of the International Association of World Peace Advocates. Engineer Akwotowo is a member of the prestigious Benin Club and Rotary International Club of Benin. He is also the current corporate vice chairman of the Benin Chamber of Commerce and a co-founder of Reach Out Ozana, an NGO through which he has awarded several scholarships and embarked upon various acts of philanthropy to different people. As an innovator, Engineer Chukwudi Mudiaga Akwotowo is a proud owner of two thriving companies, McPrice Limited, a furniture manufacturing and infrastructural development company, CEJ Structures Limited, a road construction and infrastructural development company. Chairman, sir, permit me to request humbly this distinguished engineer to give us his talk for 15 minutes.
Good day, everybody. The Vice Chancellor, and now I wish to stand on the existing protocols. I feel like a square peg in a round hole here because there are a lot of lawyers here. Everybody has been talking about law, rights, and all of it. And I'm an engineer. I like to get dirty. I like to work. So maybe I would have been more comfortable in a forum where you have engineers, but let's see how we can match engineering and this IP. So like they said, I have a furniture manufacturing firm, and what we're here to talk about today is intellectual property, the role of intellectual property in supporting Nigeria's developmental goals. I will attack this from an engineering perspective. I'll try to cook, I'll take the words, try to define them, expatiate on them, and see if we can have a marriage. So here I see that there is Nigeria's developmental goals, and there are quite a number of goals. One of them is industry, innovation, and infrastructure. And running a furniture manufacturing firm, it's one of the ways we can industrialize Nigeria and make it a better place. So I will want to bring you to speed on what furniture manufacturing is all about. In fact, in my fellowship, my thesis was in engineering in furniture manufacturing. For my membership for Nigerian Society of Engineers, what I published was on furniture manufacturing, which was desk. In fact, what you are sitting here, I have an invention like this that I created, and that's what they are using in School of Health Technology in Benin. So we'll see how we can manage that. So furniture manufacturing is the process of designing, producing and assembling furniture for various uses, such as homes, offices, school, hospitals, public spaces. It involves converting materials. So everywhere you go, that human beings must be comfortable. You must have an item of furniture. I sat on the seat. I have a product like this with my brand. If you go to all the offices in Benin, you see my seats there. If you go to some places in Abuja, you see my mark there. Just look out for Mark Price there. You see it there. And it is very pivotal and important that environment is very cozy. It's comfortable enough. So as engineers, beyond just using our nail and hammer, we check the properties of those materials, which is a part of what I study, materials engineering, and then see how comfortable it could be. So there's a particular height, for instance, a chair should be. So if you look at your knee, it's supposed to be like the height of your chair. Okay? But because we cannot all have varying heights. That's how this swivel chair was created, so that you can adjust the height and reduce it. So, but the layman will just go about and say a chair should be 420 mm, which is basic. And so if you have a short person, forgive me, like Aki and Papa, if he sits there, the leg will not touch the ground. So that's not a chair for him. He's not comfortable. If you have a tall person too, like Anthony Joshua, he will sit there and then his knees will be hurting. So furniture manufacturing is very key. But we have a lot of challenges where I see that the rights protection can come to play. Nigeria is supposed to be thriving. Like I said, while we had the roundtable discussion with the Vice Chancellor, that we have a lot of potentials. We have a lot of human resource inside of us. But because the environment is not soothing enough, we have a lot of leaks of this. People escape from Nigeria and then go abroad to go and do something else. For instance, as a furniture manufacturer, I will leave Nigeria and go and become a health worker in London. At the end of the day, I've lost my track. All the trainings I've had and everything becomes useless. Whereas if we have our rights protected here, if we have our patents like our madam has spoken about, we'll be able to generate a lot. So what are the problems we're having? I think it's institutional, and I'm happy that I'm here in a school environment. And by the way, I must say that I'm impressed with what I'm seeing here. Canadian University is truly a world-class university. When we try to imagine your location, Okada, we just feel it's one village thing. I've heard a lot. I've had transactions with some of your students, some of your lecturers too. But coming here, I saw that you could stand at par with Uniben and some other schools. So you're in a great place. I also noticed when I came here that when they were introducing some of your lecturers, all of you clapped. But when they introduced us, because you don't know us, you didn't clap. That was partial. So So like the comedians would do, they'll say when they invite me, they'll walk back and say everybody should clap so that we can all share in that partiality. So back to the matter of discourse. I was saying that if we bother to start teaching our students courses that are relevant to the state of our nation, we'll be able to achieve more. Bulk of the reason why you have a lot of internet fraudsters for men and prostitution for women is linked to the courses we're allowed to teach. So I would think that for a private school, maybe you're allowed to study anything you want to study. But imagine somebody who intends to be a medical doctor, goes to school because you have professors or doctors who have studied certain courses, and so they want to fill up their departments. They decide to decline your application. So instead of medicine, instead of engineering, they move you to physics. They move the medical doctor student, medicine student to biochemistry or library science or all of those. When you finish school, what are you going to do as a library scientist? How many libraries do we have in the country for you to work? So what happens is that you leave that school and then you become useless. You come to my office as an engineering firm, I say, I studied library science. I say, there's no place for you. So what will you have to do? You have to dress very sexily, open some parts and see whether you can whip up sentiments and attract me to get you just to be in my field. So I think that the curriculum should be addressed. We should bother now, rather than satisfying our selfish interest of glorifying our departments, talking about the professors and doctors, we should bother about the developmental state of our nation. Where are we going to? The first time I was in France to go and see the Eiffel Tower. While we saw a lot of Black people, Nigerians, were all snapping, people were trying to get the apex of the tower and all of those. The Indians and the Chinese that were there were snapping the foundation of that tower. And that speaks a lot. It speaks volume about the fabric of our nation. What interests us? We are more endeared or interested in the finesse, in the outward appearance, wearing the Gucci's and the Versace. But the Indians get dirty, the Chinese get dirty, they look at the foundation. So if we start bothering and teaching our youths to explore what they have always wanted to do, we'll see that we'll be able to get industrialized, and then we can protect those rights. Because what do you protect if you don't have it? If I don't have a firm today, if I don't have a product, what am I going to patent? What am I going to produce? What am I going to protect? So it starts from you having an item, indoctrinating or getting yourself involved in the passion, understanding what you need to do. When you get into that, you discover that you can now apply all the IP rights and all of those that you have. Again, We have about, by my calculation, thank you, by my calculation, we have about 300 or 280 persons here. How many cases do we have in Nigeria for all these lawyers to practice tomorrow? So, as much as it's very important for us to study all of these courses, I think that we should also delve into production, industrialization, courses that will help us to lift Nigeria from where we are. For instance, the yam pounder was created by Nigeria. You go abroad, you see a lot of inventions, a lot of fields dominated by Nigerians. Whereas here, there's no surface area for it. So I will appeal to our academia, our professors and our doctors to please attend to this. Allow students to study what they want to have, what they want to study, and watch our nation have a very upward movement. Thank you. Okay. Then talking about quality education too is also in that light. I would also encourage all of us to start for ourselves, because the lecturers or the professors will put you in the courses you want to, but you also have to develop yourself enough. So beauty is fine, but build your structure. Understand that there is a source in hard work. So I'll tell you a little of my story. When I wanted to get into school, my parents wanted me to study medicine. But I had my hands on, I could dismantle things. I could work on, toys and everything. I wanted to be an engineer, but because of economics, they felt that I would do better in medicine. Thank God I missed it in Uniben. That's how I got into engineering. Before then, I was advised to just take up any course. I said, no, let me do engineering. Today, I have friends who have even traveled abroad that I send money to. So because I decided to get dirty. So I want to encourage every one of us here that, yes, fraud is paying. Yes, prostitution is paying. But please, there's still money in legitimate work. You can work hard and make money. You can be a billionaire and make money. A lot of young people will go and do fraud to buy Mercedes-Benz. I have a Mercedes-Benz. A lot of people will go and steal to buy trucks. I have trucks. And I've never done fraud in my life. So it is. Last year or so, I was in Dubai, and when I stayed in my hotel in Sheraton, sorry, please, I sat down and said, these are the things that young people kill themselves for. And then I checked my room, look at my bed, I'm in Sheraton. I'm spending dollars, whereas I'm in the manufacturing sector. So please, it's important that we have all of these largesse, but it's more to get dirty. So let me just put in something. Let me relate IP and furniture manufacturing, because my letter wrote that I'm supposed to link, I'm supposed to talk about the challenges I have in furniture manufacturing in my area of specialization, and then relating with IP. So please permit me just a second. I should be done, madam. So in the furniture industry, intellectual property plays a vital role in protecting creative designs, promoting innovation, preserving brand identity, and enabling competitiveness. For manufacturers, especially in a growing industrial environment like Nigeria, understanding and applying IP rights can offer both legal protection and economic advantages. Types of intellectual property relevant to furniture manufacturing, as has been said, there's industrial design, where the protection is done for the aesthetic aspects of furniture, such as shape, pattern, line, or color of a chair, table, or cabinet. This especially is important in custom or aesthetic designs, where visual appeal influences customer choices. We have the copyright. How does that affect or relate to furniture manufacturing? Protects original drawings, blueprints, catalog content, promotional photos, and even artistic installations of furniture concepts. For trademarks, protects brand name, logos, slogans, and distinctive product identifiers. vital for building a trusted brand, especially for manufacturers trying to scale national or export internationally. Patents, though this is less in furniture, because what we do mostly, you see a chair and you just call one roadside carpenter, please look at this, and he tries to do it. So the disadvantage of that would be that, of course, the aesthetics might look alike, but the structure might fail. So that's why you have similar items. One is strong, one is not. So for patents, used when a furniture product involves a functional innovation. So for instance, you have a mechanism there, like you see some executive chairs, you see that the neck can move up and down, the hands can move. So the inventor of that equipment can patent it. So trade secret protects proprietary processes or techniques used in furniture production, such as unique vanishing method, joining system, or manufacturing workflow. So we have a challenge. We had a challenge in our factory about the finishing. So you see, when you see some items of furniture, you see that it has some smears on top. When you wipe it, you see that it looks like there's dust on top. So we invented something in the factory, what you can use to wipe that thing, and then it will be shining instead of it to have those smells. So I think we can patent that. So recommendations, we would advise that manufacturers should adhere to some of these teachings we've had, so that I've learned a lot here. For instance, I never knew some of these things I saw today. So going back, I'll go and patent my trademark, my logo. We'll also patent some of our inventions and see how we can generate resources from that. Because if, for instance, you make a design and then that design starts flying, I'm sure when you have patented it, you can now sell it. Somebody can come and say, okay, I want to buy this thing. And then you make money from it. So it's a very informative gathering we've had today. I'm going to take back home all of this. So in rounding off, I want to speak to every one of us and say that we live in a world where morals is vanishing. It's almost becoming a norm for people to be irresponsible. So a musician comes from nothing, maybe a whiskey, maybe a Burna Boy, father, mother, no history of wealth. You become wealthy. Instead of you to invest in the nation, we don't have factories. You start pulling your shirt, you start smoking. So the impression out there is that if you don't smoke as a billionaire, if you don't sag your pants as a billionaire, if you don't paint your car in somewhere as a billionaire, you are not recognized. No, it pays to be responsible. And also, we hear about gender inequality. I do not know how many men can look at Okonjo-Iweala and harass her sexually. Why? She has more mentality than you. What are you going to say to her? So if you build on yourself, if you work on your psyche, if you work on your craft, you realize that all of these gender inequality stories will not come to play. How many people go to harass the doctor? If you have a mental illness, if you have a surgery to do and you see a female doctor, you say you want to sleep with her. No. At that instance, no matter who you are, you be humble because she has something you have that you don't, something you need that you don't have. So I would appeal that every one of us youth would ensure that you develop a craft. Don't just go to school. If you have friends, if you have siblings, don't just go to school because you want to be in school, but go to school to study a course that will make you to be somebody that is responsible, someone that is notable in this country. Thank you.
Another round of applause for engineer. You see the way he ended this lecture? Please have it in mind. Be responsible. Now, Chairman, in absentia, will say, please permit me to introduce Professor Nat Ofo. Professor Nat Ofo is an erudite scholar in corporate governance, law, and innovation. He is an autonomous, homegrown member of the great Obairedowa College of Law, Igbinedion University, Okada. I make bold to say that he is our own contribution to the world of innovation. Before joining the academia, he held senior management roles at Nigerian Breweries Limited, PLC, where he served as company secretary, legal advisor. He is also the president of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrations of Nigeria, ISCA, and a member of the Institute of Directors of Nigeria. This professor is well grounded in information and communication technology. His research focuses on corporate governance, corporate law, intellectual property, and communication and commercial law, with numerous publications in reputable journals. With the kind permission of the chairman and the concurrence of the audience, I wish to welcome our dear professor to speak to us for 15 minutes on the matter of the moment. Thank you.
IO, authentic. Good afternoon, everybody. Mr. Chair, good afternoon. Please, I crave your indulgence to rely on the already well-established protocol. Let me start by saying that, and I'm sure you have heard it, particularly from Mrs. Hussein, intellectual property is a niche area of law, is a niche area of study. And I make bold to tell you that it is that area of law that you are versed in that will bring you a lot of money. It does not require you going to, and she will confirm going to court every day. Each area, and not a lot of lawyers are conversant with intellectual property. We have, all the other speakers, they have stressed the importance of intellectual property rights and how we can go about ensuring that the public, everybody, industrialists, are aware of their intellectual property rights. Perhaps what we should do at Igbinedion University, and I'm happy that the VC is here, is for us to introduce a course called Intellectual Property Law to prepare our students on the knowledge as far as intellectual property law is concerned, because they have this abroad, people who are intellectual property practitioners. That is the focus of their practice. And I'll give you my personal experience. When I was in law school and I was to do chamber attachment, I'm sure Madam will know this law firm. There's a firm called David Garrick and Co. David Garrick. The only thing they do is intellectual property. That is their only business. And you know who their clients are? Foreigners. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Cadbury. They charge in dollars, not naira. She can confirm it. I mean, I'm telling you, she's from the office. They charge in dollars. The law firm is so rich that they resume at 8 and close at 3. That is how rich they are. And they don't work weekends. On no account do they work weekends. It is a niche area and it is loaded. And there are very few lawyers who are conversant with intellectual property practice. So as lawyers, I think we should begin to look in that direction too. And to help our students prepare for that, I think we should introduce intellectual property law in the College of Law. Having said that, I mean, we have heard so much about the theories and practice, and I would not want to repeat what has been said. So what I will do is I will just delve into areas that have not been mentioned. We have recognized the importance of intellectual property. And so I think in terms of strategic priorities for IP-driven development, there are areas we should look at. One is institutional strengthening. We should strengthen the institutions. So we should have some IP administration reforms, have capacity building, and then have the technology transfer office also strengthened. Then in the area of legal and regulatory framework, we have to modernize our laws. The age we are in now is an age that is driven by technology. And our laws, some of our laws, in IP laws, were not designed for the era that we are in. The Patent and Design Act, for instance, was made in 1970. 1970, before the internet, before AI. So you can imagine how obsolete that law is. So we need to reform our laws. About 2 years ago, we had the Copyright Act of 2022. I am even advocating that intellectual property should have a unified legislation. Why are we splitting it into different things? So you have Copyright Act, you have Patent and Design Act, you have Trademarks Act, and so there are too many and confusing and unwieldy. Why not we have a unified legislation and have different parts of the legislation to deal with different issues? That way, people are channeled to everything about IP in just one legislation. Just like you have companies. You have CAMA, for instance, Companies and Allied Matters Act. And it deals with companies, it deals with partnerships, it deals with limited, something like that. You have a robust legislation instead of having these legislations in different bits and pieces that confuses. In the area of innovation, we have said a lot about it, but R&D is very important. R&D is very important, not just for people in the industry. Somebody mentioned that about the researches that are happening in the universities. In other jurisdictions, universities actually sponsor, the private sector actually sponsor particular programs in university. They interact with universities to see the research that they have and commercialize it, like one of the panelists has mentioned, to commercialize it. But here in Nigeria, we don't see such things happening. The research that people come up with here end up in the universities, and they are not commercialized, which is a very sad thing. And this is one area that I think we should work hard on. When the VC came in here, he championed the triple helix, which has been mentioned earlier on, triple helix, where you have this interaction between the university, the private sector, and the community, so that there will be this interaction that will lead to the benefit of all. I think that drive should continue so as to ensure that this interaction yields positive results, because that is the only thing that can come out of it, where the business community interacts with the university and then for the benefit of the community. In this age, we are having a lot of hubs. We are in a technology-driven era, and so you have hubs, technology hubs. The things that come out of the hubs are things with intellectual property rights. And these hubs are developing everywhere. Why can't we make Nigeria the regional hub for IP-related issues? And we can do it. What do we need? We need adequate budget. Because if you look at the budget that we have for intellectual property issues vis-a-vis our budget, it is very low. Meanwhile, SME's contribution to GDP is not less than 49%. So why neglect it? Why neglect it? It's like not having your priorities right. And this is something that has to be done to ensure that there's development in that area. And to be organized and focused about this, I think we should have it in 3 segments. Let us have short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. If it is boxed in these categories, then there will be focused. There will be focus, and it will be driven in a more organized and methodical manner. In Nigeria, we have had some success stories, some fintech innovation. I mean, Flutterwave and all of that. When you have good IP protection, you can attract FDI. That's the secret. You can attract FDI, the foreign direct investment. And when the IP rights are well protected in our environment, then the foreigner can come in and begin to talk with our inventors. I don't know whether you have noticed. I have. At times you're on social media and you see that, oh, there's an invention. Somebody now has invented a car that does not use fuel, does not use electric, and uses water. And then, I have seen this on social media, and then it is displayed on social media. And before you know it, the Chinese guys will come in here and whisk the guy away. Why? Because we appear not to appreciate what we have. And so you find the foreigners, they come here and take the guy away, and it becomes a foreign invention. There was a time Stanbic IBTC Merchant Bank was sanctioned by the Financial Reporting Council. What happened? Nigerians developed a software for running banking operation. Nigerians working in Nigeria developed a software for running banking business. And Stanbic IBTC Bank, South Africa, now registered that invention and took all the credits for something that was invented by Nigerians, developed in Nigerians. And why did that happen? Because our law and regulation relating to invention is not encouraging. To be honest, in Nigeria, you are on your own. Nobody is looking after you. And that is a very sad testament, because it means that the inventions that are coming out of Nigeria, the glory is going to other people. These ones I have mentioned are the ones that came to light, but there are some that did not come into the public domain. And then the foreigners will now file for patent protection over such inventions, or will now claim trademark right over things that are developed by Nigerians and in Nigeria. And do you know the sad thing about it? They will not even mention the Nigerian. Because when they take it over, it has become a corporate asset, and it is now championed by Stanbic, South Africa, for instance. They won't even mention the Nigerian. So the government has to do a lot to ensure that we get what we can get from intellectual property. And let me also tell you that, you see, Nollywood is international, but I know that if we have harnessed the copyright of those practitioners, they will have been making a lot more money than they are making. So you find that our guys are actually being underchanged. Why? Because of the regulatory environment that is not well protected. To round up, I don't want to waste too much time because we've already discussed this thing. I think that if we want to drive intellectuality in Nigeria, we have to be methodical about it. And so we should have a strong, effective, and efficient process for monitoring, evaluation, and impact assessment. IP is money, and it is a lot of it. And when money is involved, everybody's attention is aroused. So we should not allow ours to just go away or to be exploited by people who are not in our environment. So we should have economic metrics. We should have innovation indicators, and we should have enforcement effectiveness. Somebody also mentioned something about enforcement. To do this, we should create awareness among the people, awareness amongst lawyers, awareness among practitioners, engineers, awareness among civil society, but much more importantly, awareness amongst the judiciary. You'd be amazed that some judges don't understand a lot about intellectual property. And so they will need to be taught, go for some lessons to acquaint them with the nitty-gritty of intellectual property. When Mrs. Susan was presenting, she told something about something that is descriptive and distinctive. You may think it's semantics, but it is not. It is much more than that. And those are some kind of judgments that you have to make when you are considering intellectual property matters. Is it okay? Data collection. In an age that is driven by technology, which is where we are now, being massively propelled by artificial intelligence, data is the new oil. Data is the new oil. And so you cannot mess around with data. That is why in Nigeria, for instance, we have the Nigerian Data Protection Act of 2023. It is to lend credence to the weight of data. And so we should have a very robust data management strategy. Because as far as intellectual property is concerned, data is very key. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and my dear students, like I said, intellectual property is a deep matter, very deep, but very rich. I am sure when the communique of this roundtable is released, a lot of things will be unveiled. But I leave you with this. Begin to think about it. Because, you know, what the internet has done to us is that we are beginning to lose sight of the importance of copyrights or intellectual property, because we are in the era of sharing. Everything is being shared. And so people no longer know that somebody who owns an item can actually sue you for using his material without consent or approval, because everybody is doing his thing and you are sharing because you want to go viral, you want everybody to see what you are doing. But beyond going viral, there is money attached to some of those things, you know, beyond the one you get from the platform owners. For your creativity, the creative work that you have done, that is where your intellectual property is. So begin to think about intellectual property in a different way so that you can harness the benefits of intellectual property. On this note, I say thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Nat. Now we know that the practice of intellectual property is very lucrative. So I want to join him to encourage us to look deeply into that area. And some of us can decide to take it up even when we go into practice. Thank you very much, Professor Nat. I want to hand over to the chairman. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me claim my own intellectual property now as chairman. Yeah. Yeah, this is my right now. I would like to commend the speakers and the opinions they have expressed this afternoon. sessions like this are very, very important because of the takeaways. It's a question and answer session, or we shall take one or two comments. First of all, what is the takeaway for the university on this program? I will highlight them as follows. With the partnership between Professor Nat Ofo and Professor Maviwe and our barrister, Barrister Eno, we will take advantage of the CCMAS and introduce intellectual property law for first semester of the next academic session. So by implication, we'll build up the intellectual base for postgraduate programs in intellectual law, intellectual property law in our university. I would like to use this opportunity to inform Barrister Eno that a formal invitation from the university to your ministry for but attention of the patent department for nomination into our industry academic board here in the university. The same invitation goes to Dr. Emeju, the Pan-African Alliance. Please, you leave us with the essential details so that we shall write officially for you to be a member of the board. Incidentally, the DG of NUTAB is the chairman of the board. They have not been changed. Our engineer Chikudi, we're also inviting you. We shall write you officially to be on that board. Thank you. Our university, like I said before, is on the road to translation and transformation research. Our university brokered a partnership with Vilnius University in Lithuania. I was there 2 weeks ago, and we have agreed to hold an international workshop here in Nigeria on translation and transformation research. It is going to be it's a collaboration between our university and Vilnius University. Vilnius University in Lithuania is over 400 years old. I'm not sure you heard me. 400 years old and still kicking. And so we're going to tap from that experience. I've also discussed with Pastor Eno here that the university will champion an engagement with World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, and the academy. We are going to, at management level, nominate a desk officer. WIPO, for information, is a UN organ, provides opportunity for capacity building, for development and sustainability of intellectual property law programs in universities. And so we are really grateful to have Pastor Eno here as our own to provide these insights. Yeah. So the question and answer session, to show that you didn't come here to clap alone. So we're going to take two questions from this side and 2 questions from this side. And the panelists will respond to them. But before I throw the floor open, I want again to exercise my own intellectual property rights. So I will ask Mr. Eno, can you just give us a little commentary on IP practice outside the university scene? IP practice.
Thank you very much, sir. IP practice outside the university is very, very interesting. Like we always say, as a lawyer or as a law student, most times you look at the low-hanging fruits. Intellectual property practice is a multi-billion-dollar business, but I'd like to shock you, just very few lawyers know about it. And that is why, like Prof was saying, David Garrick, when I was employed into my ministry, that was 2006, David Garrick had 95% of the practice because most lawyers did not know about it. The funny thing is that this law firm is in Lagos. So how come he's dominating an office in Abuja? That is because within that ecosystem, he carved out a niche for himself. And the average intellectual property lawyer, I cannot tell you how much the person makes. You don't even have to stress yourself going to court if you don't want to go. But you sit within your law firm or even in your house and make so much money. But very few people know about it. And those that know about it, try to make sure that a lot of people don't enter into the space. Yes, because I mean, it's business. Now, for patents, I've worked in trademarks office, I've worked in designs office, now I'm in the patent office. 95% of applications comes in from abroad. And each of those applications, I think they charge about $1,000. How much is $1,000? Do you know how much it is? Okay, now let me tell you why they're charging $1,000. That $1,000 was the amount they were charging like 10, 15 years ago when dollar was about 170. So 10, 15 years ago, they were charging 170,000 naira. But the law firms abroad have refused to review their fees. So now in 2025, that money is equivalent of 1 point some. That's how much they charge per application. I'm not talking about an application that comes in once in a while. If you are lucky to hit such opportunity with the law firms abroad, in a month, you can file up to like 500 applications. How much does that translate to? You can see why they don't want people to know about it. So I was speaking with the VC that if there's any course you should encourage the average lawyer to pick up is intellectual property law because it's like low-hanging fruit. People won't tell you about it. In fact, you can walk in the office and make your millions and people won't know. Even you don't even need to be a lawyer to delve into it, even as you are a law student now, because it's more like an agency kind of practice. But you having that legal knowledge puts you ahead of others. Obviously, I think I've virtually said everything.
Thank you very much. Well, the interesting part of it is that she emphasized that you don't have to be a lawyer. So if the VC begins an agency, just know that is the outcome of today's meeting. But seriously, this is a very genuine avenue for rich, big money. And it's just knowledge-based. I can assure you that we shall capitalize on this advocacy and make it practical. Thank you. So can we take the questions there? Any two? One there, and then the next one will be a lady. Okay, ladies are two. I'll give the opportunity for who is a female there that's ready to answer this question. If you don't raise up your hand, I'll raise your hand. Those who are clapping. No. I want a lady. Where is the lady? I will call your name now. Wait, first, one, register two. We need a lady first. Okay, bring the microphone for this lady that's bending her neck. The one in glasses. You are number 3. Give her to us. Take. Ask question. Take. Oh, you are there too? You ask. Then, so you are number 4 there? Okay, go ahead. Introduce yourself and ask a question or make a comment. If you don't know what to say, I love intellectual property law. The Dean, are you back? I just made a pronouncement here. the introduction of property law, international property law, starting for first semester next academic session. Thank you. So I'm Professor Ofo and Amabiwe and yourself and by the end we run it. So we'll be in contact with her. Yes, the first question. If she's not willing to give the microphone to somebody else now, you see how you are transferring your intellectual property right? So let's see, who is speaking? Who is speaking there?
All protocol.
Okay, thank you.
Is
that not our lawyer?
Chief Register, ma. Ma, please, is there any professional exam concerning trademark we can write as law students or after our undergraduate graduation, or the trademark exam that will make us professional in that field of study, ma, so that we can get acquainted with it, ma? Thank you, ma.
Okay, that's question number one. You noted it. You want to answer it now? Go ahead.
For other countries, they could be professional exams. In Nigeria, there's no such professional exams. All you need to do is just to know more about the subject matter. And I want to tell you that World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, have an academy. It's called WIPO Academy. They have some free courses there, and some of them, I think, for third world countries and developing countries like Nigeria. If you want to maybe take a step further, maybe away from the free courses, you pay like, I think, $100 or thereabouts. However, if you come to our office can write to WIPO to give you a waiver, a scholarship, for you to do most of those courses free.
So now we know the essence of this roundtable. Says yes. Introduce yourself, level, and the question.
Good afternoon, all protocols duly observed. My question is directed firstly to Professor Natofo. My name, Opala Chukwubem Kingsley, 500 level law, sir. So concerning the regulation of intellectual property, is personal or group recognition more important than human development? This question is based like this. Intellectual property, essentially, oh, you made something or you brought an idea, you should profit from the research and the development of that thing. Good and fine. But you have scenarios where people that lack the resources to carry an idea from step 1 to step 100 make ideas. So you ask yourself the question, is making sure that this person gets recognition for this more important than human development? Let's say someone in Nigeria made fuel. The person made the formula for fuel. This person does not have the ability, because of poverty, state of the community, so many factors, does not have the ability to carry the formula for fuel from a formula to what it is now. Is it more important to protect the person's rights than to develop human society, than to make this thing available for humanity's development? So the question, important than developing humanity? That's my question. Thank you. My answer to your question will be quite brief. Honestly, knowledge is not cheap, but if it's away for free, people will take it for free. Another thing I also want to say is that intellectual property, as Barrister Eno shared with us, they are of different types. And it's not all of them that require registration in Nigeria. For instance, if you write a book, you are not required to register it for you to have copyright over that book or article. Unlike in the US, where you will need to register it. But if you came up with an invention, Mr. Moalu in the morning has told us that their office can assist you with processing your patent. You see, it's important to protect your rights because others are protecting their rights. Of course, because it's your right, you can give it away for free, but it does not make sense because if you are helping humanity, you should also help yourself, because I'll tell you that nobody will help you. Thank you.
Yeah, it makes sense. The last registrar, can we hear from you?
Okay, Bakari, registrar, Igbineda University. Mine is, I am a victim of of deception. And so I don't know who's going to answer it. Now, Coca-Cola is a well-known brand name, you know, hundreds of years old. But there is this other product that came in, Biggie Cola. How did you approve Biggie Cola? Because there was a time I sent my driver to go and buy Coca-Cola. I came back with Biggie Cola, and what was the issue? Was that they are the same. That was what the trader told him. And we hear, I mean, you go to the market and you hear the same thing. So my worry, how did Biggie Cola come in, you know, without passing through these tests that you have, you know, elaborated for us, you know, because the two names, they are too similar to my, you know, as far as I'm concerned. Thank you. So please, I need what is my right, you know, if I have one on this deception, this possible deception?
Well, Biggie Cola and Coca-Cola, I don't think they quite sound the same. But then at the background, if you investigate further, you would see that there's a lot of lawsuits on Biggie Cola from Coca-Cola, because even Pop Cola has a lot of lawsuits that we are aware of. So I think it's still also about intellectual property rights, that's being able to protect what you have. Because if Coca-Cola had not had a registration with us, it would not have had a foundation to use and fight other people infringing on its products. Just like McDonald's, you know, in Jamaica, McDonald's could into the Jamaican market with that name. They had to change it because they took it for granted, their world brand, and so they can enter into any market. But when they went to Jamaica, somebody was already using the name McDonald, and they were forced to change their name. So it's I think that's just about it.
Can we have some one there, two there? Any male now? Any of the students who are willing to answer? Any student? Okay, let's take the two. Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. My question. Okay, my name is Professor Erifeta Georgina. I have a concern. In academics, we rush to publish our papers, especially in high-impact journals that are international. And we do not wait to get the final outputs of our research. And so we indirectly sell out our IPs to international communities because we must publish for us to be promoted. So as our researches are progressive, we quickly publish so that we can qualify for promotion. So I don't know. And I know that you are not able to register an IP if your work is already published, is in the public domain. How do we possibly manage that for those in academia? So I think it's a concern. We don't wait for the outputs. We have researchers that are supposed to come up with very novel outputs, but we are not able to wait because we need to be promoted. So we just go ahead to publish those papers as our researches are progressive before we get the IPs. Thank you very much, ma'am.
So my name is Engineer Enoch Mogali, Deputy Director from NUTAP. Once you're carrying a research and you discover that your research work have IP potential, before you can start considering IP potential, you must have established newness. There must be an inventive step. And then, most importantly, it must have industrial applicability. Once you discover this, the first thing you do is to file for patent. Once you file for patent and it gets to patent office, it will be registered and they will give you a date and a number. Once you have date and number, you can proceed to your publishing. It means patent, publish, and prosper. And then it must be undergoing processing. You must start the process of patenting before you send your publication. Reason is that first, you may be lucky, you have patent, and your work is published. Even when it doesn't meet a requirement for patentability, it will still be published. But then where there's potential, IP potential, meaning there's ability or tendency for that work to create wealth in future, you file for patent. It's called, it will your work with them be other called, it's called patent pending. Why you still proceed to your publication? Thank you.
Okay, I would like to just add to what Engineer Enoch has said. You know, Madam, as someone working in the patent office, most times we see researchers being hesitant, protecting their products, patenting their products, and we try to encourage them. Some of them will say the invention will be stolen and all that. And most times, your patent or your research may not meet patentability criteria today, but tomorrow something can happen that will make it become a multi-million-dollar business. How many of us knew that nose mask will become a multi-million-dollar business? But you see what COVID did to us. Even Zoom, you know that Zoom had been around for a long time. Nobody knew that it was of any relevance, but you see what COVID did. So we always advise researchers, when you have come up with something or you have researched into a particular area that you know that is quite novel, please come forward and protect it, because tomorrow coming forward to protect it might be too late. Just like I told you about the man that worked with Mobile. So thank you.
Because the reason being that once it's published, you can no longer protect it. It's said to be in public domain. Any third person must have seen it. Another person might have leveraged on that information. Maybe reinvent around your information you published, or you have exhibited on exhibition. You no longer protect it. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. My name is Professor Osaratin George Zebu.
We know you. Go ahead.
The question is, I want my colleague, Professor Natofo, to look at this very well. Why in a university setting where research is a hallmark? Now, apart from just publishing, it is also necessary that we are cited for recognition. Now you are writing an article, very strong one with a lot of innovations, and you want to be cited. The question now is, if you patent it, nobody cites. How do you hope to grow as far as citation of your work is concerned?
Before Nat answers that question, I'll ask one simple question. A point in Google Scholar for citation and a fully patent research, which one is more relevant? I flew a kite. And I've answered your question. A patented project has more weight than a score in Google Scholar in the name of citation. And so, let that kite be flying. The next person.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Obio Beta. I'm a researcher in petroleum engineering department. My question is almost similar to what Professor Ripta has asked, but then I want to know at what point do we close the gap between being afraid of disclosing your work early enough and also distorting the opportunity of even providing this work to your probably the stakeholders that are interested in that work? Why am I saying this? I'm an oil field chemical researcher. And
Hello.
so I've had some discoveries, unofficial inventions, if I may use that word. And along the line, we'll have opportunities. We've always seek for opportunities to apply this work in real life scenarios, like going to the field, using real life oil well fields to test these newly developed oil field chemicals. So you are going to bring out all the information you have, right from the development down to the stage where you have it. You are going to bring them. Otherwise, because they have those wells are very expensive. When I'm talking about oil and gas wells, you can imagine how much it is to have one. And you are bringing something you have probably locally produced and you want to test them in such wells. So you are bringing all the information you have. You are not going to hide anyone. Do you understand? So my question now is, now you wouldn't want to display all you have for the fear of some aspect of this world, because I've gone to such other occasions whereby as I was stepping out, somebody said, please, can I have your proposal? And after that, I wasn't contacted. Something in my mind now told me that, Obi, you have actually messed up. Do you understand? So at what point can we bridge that gap of keeping some part and also being able to showcase what we have so that we don't lose such opportunities? Thank you.
I'm still Engineer Knock. When you are preparing patent documents, there's a room for trade secrets. Either you represent either in ratios. For instance, we are talking of maybe chemical kinetics. We are talking about temperature. You discover that in your research, maybe you are talking of 30.5, you have a result. Maybe to 35.5, you have a result. We have base and optimal. But within this 35.5, 30.5, and 35.5, you have the optimal results. Then the range, that range, you have not light. Any person trying to reduce your work, we get result. But the exact temperature, which is between that 30.5 and 35.5, have not been mentioned. But you have not light. The same thing is weight by weight ratio. You use ratios, you use what do I call it again? In between temperature from ranges, use ranges. Ranges is the best way to protect secret patent documents. You did not lie, you have the lowest point of result, the highest point of result, but the optimal is in between that result. So you are allowed to use ranges, in weight ratio, whatever form, either in temperature. So that weight range, if any other person want to get that exact temperature or pressure or chemical kinetics you used, he might want to go back to a lab, spend 8 months there, or contact you and leverage on it. Thank you.
Well, if I may add to that, I'd like to remind us that patent is actually a contract between the government and the inventor. And the contract is, you as a researcher, give me everything about your invention, which of course, that's what the ribbon on the patent certificate is all about, so that it will be attached to your certificate. And then in return, I give you this right for 20 years. That's government gives you this right for 20 years. Now, within these 20 years, it's believed that you should be able to recover the costs of your investment. Within these 20 years too, it's only you that can authorize the usage of your own invention. That is why you see most times when invention enters into the market, like maybe a new phone, it will be very expensive. Then over time, it becomes less expensive. I don't know whether we've noticed that.
Yeah.
Then if you are able to, take a study back, you'll notice that within that 20-year period, there's been a lot of licensing. So that's why once they start licensing out those rights, the price comes down. If you can remember many years ago, the only pain reliever we had was Panadol, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not because other people could not come up with generic version. It was because there was a patent on that Panadol. It was after that 20-year period lapse, you started hearing things like paracetamol and all that. So that disclosure is just something that you cannot contract away. If you are going to obtain a patent, you just need to give that disclosure. And anything you don't disclose, if somebody comes to register a similar invention and discloses what you did not disclose, the person has the right to stop you from practicing your own invention because the right is given to you based on what you have actually disclosed. So I don't know why researchers are always afraid, but I don't think there's really anything to really be afraid of. Because if you don't disclose what you have done, how then will licensing take place and assignments? Because there'll be no one that will know what you have done. You just, have it to yourself alone.
Equally, as she has spoken, let's take, for instance, Ampiclos. Ampiclos was founded by this company called Bisham. Then after 20 years, you discover that other companies start producing Ampiclos. That's why you enter markets, you can see Ampiclos Bisham 3,000, some 4,000. But you still have some Ampiclos 300 naira, some 200. Meanwhile, why these people were trying to exhibit the 20 years? They are working, they are progressing, they are researching. Before, after 20 years expired, other companies started coming, but they can't be at the same level. So that's what happens. Thank you so much.
Very much. You see, yes, that is why some of these drugs we talk about branded drugs. Yeah. So please let me de-risk academics. Let me remove the risk that we think we face in disclosure. I don't blame academics too, because the traditional research disposition was research and development. And so it ends there. But now we are talking about translational research, which means research that must produce impact. And if a research is to produce impact, of course, it's going to be at the level of invention, which must require patenting. Mandatorily. So transformative research is a research that is deployable. You want to deploy it as a new invention, it must be patented. You are asking, at what point do we do that? Even at the point of trial. Even at the point of trial of your invention, you would have started the process of patenting that product. And if you start in time, nothing stops you from preliminary publication of your work, and it will not be stolen. Finally, not every discovery is an invention. Not every discovery is an invention. Engineering told us that if you go to the lab and have variations in temperature, in thermodynamics or chemodynamics, it is not an invention until it becomes very definite and peculiar to that particular work. And so we come to the conclusion of this roundtable. Is it?
Please, can we give Mr. Chairman another round of applause? At this point in time, it is our nature to make a presentation to our very esteemed guests and panelists for today's event. It's on that note that I want to call on Barrister Enobong Hussein to kindly receive a plaque from the Vice Chancellor to say thank you for your presence here today and for being a part of this particular session. Please, can we give her a round of applause as she receives that? She will also be presented with a souvenir pack so that as she returns, she will take a piece of IEO with her. Please, can we applaud her again? I would like to now invite Dr. Henry E. Emejo to kindly receive a plaque from the Vice Chancellor in the same vein, saying thank you for all that you have done here today. Please, can we give him a round of applause? I'll now invite the rep of the DG, National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion, NOTAP. That is the very person of Engineer Enoch Mogalu, to also receive a plaque from the Vice Chancellor in appreciation of his
Thanks.
Okay, good. Please, can we applaud him again? May I now invite Engineer Chukwudi Mudiaga Akuto to kindly receive a plaque from the visit. Please, can we applaud him? Engineer Chukwudi Mudiaga Akuto is the Managing Director and CEO, Mark Price Nigeria Limited, Benin City. Please, can we appreciate him again? I'll now invite our very own Professor Nat Ofo to receive a souvenir from the Vice Chancellor. I would also invite the Director, IP. Okay. The Director, IPTTO, Professor Charity Amaviwe. Please, can we give her a round of applause for a very wonderful event here today? Once again, we want to say a very big thank you for all that you have done here today at the university. Moving on quickly, I would like to invite the Registrar and Secretary to Government Council, Igbinedion University, Okada, Friday Benji Bakare, Esquire, to come and give us the vote of thanks. Please, can we give him an applause?
Our very amiable Vice Chancellor, Professor Lawrence Ikechukwu Ezemoye, and Chairman of this August occasion, very distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is with immense pleasure and gratitude to God that I stand before you today to deliver this vote of thanks as we bring to a close this highly successful and intellectually stimulating and enriching discourse on intellectual property, organized under the auspices of the Intellectual Property and Technology Transfer Office of IUO. Firstly, on behalf of the entire management of Community University of Okada, I extend our profound appreciation to our very distinguished Vice Chancellor, and by the way, Chairman of the Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities, for his visionary leadership and unwavering support, which has made this roundtable possible. Can we please give him a round of applause? To the lead panelist, Dr. Barrister Obiageli Edith Ahmad Yobi, the DG CEO NOTAP, ably represented by Engineer Enoch Mogalu. We are profoundly grateful for your insightful and thought-provoking presentation. Our sincere thanks equally goes to other resource persons and panelists, including Dr. Henry Emejuo, DG CEO, Pan-African Alliance of Small and Medium Enterprises. A round of applause for him, please. Engineer Chukwudi Akoto, MDCO McPrice Nigeria Limited, as well as the representative of the Registrar Patents and Designs for the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investments, Mrs. Enabon Hussein, and our own erudite Professor Nat Ofo of the College of Law. Your contributions have illuminated various aspects of intellectual property and the critical nexus between development, national development, sparking robust and engaging deliberations. We are equally grateful to the principal officers, the provost, College of Health Sciences, deans, directors, and indeed all distinguished participants who took time out of their busy schedules to attend and participate actively in the discussions. Of course, I'll not forget our very indefatigable moderator, Professor Charity Mabiwe, the director of IPTTO, for our expertise in successfully navigating the entire session. To the student body, we thank you so much for being part of this auspicious occasion. I hope that we have learned, one or two things from here, just as I have. As we depart, it is our earnest hope that the insights gained and the connections forged here will translate into tangible actions and policies that will significantly advance the role of intellectual property in driving national development. Thank you all for your kind participation. I wish you journey mercies back to your respective destinations.
Thank you very much, Registrar. Please, can we applaud our Registrar again? Quickly now. In a moment, we're going to rise for the closing prayer, and we're going to take the closing prayer, the university anthem, and the national anthem. After that, we are meant to remain standing while the Vice Chancellor leads the team outside to the foyer for a group photograph. It's at this point I would like to invite Mr. Kehinde Ahmed, a 500 level student of the Obaredowa College, to give us the closing prayer. Please, can we be on the page, please?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Robbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa akhirati hasanatan wa qina azabannar. Amen.
It shall be the Spirit of the truth and justice reign. It's all sweetly comes and spirit. I'll stay.
Thank you so much. Please kindly remain standing as the chairman leads the team outside for a group photograph at the foyer. Once again, we want to thank all members of Senate and staff here present, as well as the students and also our invited guests for being here with us today for this occasion. We'll see you next time, same venue. Have a very beautiful rest of the day. Thank you.